All right, welcome to a special edition of Teaching Crypto. Please hit that like, that subscribe, bell notification. Super chats in the store are open. I know what you guys are thinking. I just did a show that said Bitcoin was about to go up, and the exact opposite happens. So, what happened? Here's the deal, and I'll be honest with you. I did not think we were going down to 113, but we've always said Bitcoin doesn't go straight up. Am I giving up? No. And I'm going to show you some historical data as to why I'm not. But the jobs report come back not too hot today, right? So I'll share this with you first. This title, it says, it turns out the labor market is much worse than we thought. And it goes into some detail about why, but that's not really that important. What's more important is this. And again, history doesn't repeat, but as you like to say, Mr. FOMO, it does repeat a lot of times. So this is an important chart. We've showed this before. You want to look at the 4 years. 2021, August, 13%. 2017, 65. 2013, 30%. August after the halving, the following year, has normally been pretty good in the 4-year cycle. And you see October, September, you can see a bit of a retrace sometimes, but October is when you really get the gains. It doesn't mean that the alt will go down in September, although we just haven't seen enough alt action. We're going to get into all the scenarios, but I'm not giving up. I'm still holding out. I'm being stubborn to my 150, 180. Obviously, we want to hold above 100 because you get below 100, you got to work harder to get to that 150, Mr. FOMO. How are you feeling today?
Well, I mean, I hate it when we get a drawback, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not that huge of a drawback. I think if you are worried about this, maybe you need to tuck your emotions in and become a little bit more of a trader and rely less on your emotions when you're doing this. Remember, you shouldn't be trading any more than you can afford to lose. So, if Bitcoin takes a $6,000 slide like it did, you shouldn't be emotional about it. And so I want to remind everybody that this can happen, especially, and this can happen even in a bull run. We can see slides like this, and I'm not worried. I think if it got down to 100, I think I'd be worried. But I'm not worried about this. This Bitcoin can't go up forever. The macro environment isn't great. The jobs, like you said, came back bad, and we haven't cut rates, which I thought was expected, but the market just didn't respond that well to it. None of the markets did, really. And then the markets are also responding ugly to what they think the tariffs are going to do.
I want to talk about rates in just a little bit, but if I look at 2021, up 13.8, 2017, 65, 2013, 30. Every 4 years at the end of the cycle, August has been a good month. Now in the bear, you can see August doesn't do well. And then September,
even in halving years, it doesn't do great.
September 4 years ago, we actually went down 7%. We actually, believe it or not, Mr. FOMO, this was when history did repeat. Both in 2017 and 2021, we went down 7%. So it's interesting. 2013, it was only 1.76. So in both Septembers at the end of the bull run, there was a retrace. And then October, that's when you see, and that's like the top off, right? That's when you see these big gains. But it can happen at the beginning of the middle of October, not the end of October. So last time in October in 2021, we got that big number, almost 40%, 39.9. 2017, 47.8. And 2013, 60.79. Now, 60%, that was when Bitcoin was much lower and it didn't make enough money to move it up. But I think we're going to see something similar here. I think we're going to get, and I know it's going to sound crazy because we're going down. I still think we can get to 125, 130 this month. It's only the 1st of August. Then a bit of a retrace. And then I think we get our blow off top in October. somewhere between 150 and 180. Now it's looking like it's going to be closer to 150 than 180. I hope I'm wrong about that here. But the 200 to 300 to 400 that some people were predicting, I just never really thought that was reasonable. And we talked about this. Bitcoin, it's still early. This chart doesn't go back decades. It goes back when Bitcoin started in 2011, but really people started to keep track of it in great detail in the year 2013. That was only 12 years ago. 12 years is a long time, but not if you think about the financial history of the United States. And so if the cycles are still going, and there's a debate as to whether or not they are, you kind of see, man, if you look at this, look at 2017 first. Look what happened. We actually did very well in November and December. However, in 2021, the bottom fell off in November and December. So that's the biggest difference for me is you saw great runs, but you see December 2013. So what the biggest difference for me is the bull run didn't last as long last time. And so was it if it's you have a theory that because we started early because of the ETFs, people need to be aware there is a small possibility we've already topped off at 123K. We don't think it's true, but you have to be prepared for that scenario.
Yeah, remember the ETFs pushed the bull run to start a little bit early, about 3 months earlier than it normally would have. And so we saw that run up very early in this bull run. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware that this, that this could fall apart anytime now. But I'm more in the department that you are. I think, showing this chart, the August and post halving years, and then the Octobers are really, really nice looking, no matter what year almost that you look at it. But especially in more recent years, Octobers have been pumptobers.
I mean, even in the bear market, the October
Right.
usually. I mean, the year after the what you see here, those two reds, right? That's the year after. That's the first. That's the beginning of that's the October during the bear. The first year of the bear market, but the rest of
Mhm.
them, they're all green. You're right.
Right. And so I'm more of the idea or the school of thought that you are, that we're going to have a positive August, maybe a cooling off in September, and then another positive October. But
I
I mean, September doesn't have to be a negative or a red month. September has had some green months too. It doesn't seem to be in the post halving years, but you never know. And
I have
so
a
we could get
theory.
some positive
Even
action through all three of those months, and then we could see a Bitcoin that's closer to 150 and 180, like you predicted. But I
I have a
think in
theory.
order to get us to 180, we're going to have 3 positive months.
So I'm going to say this: even whales need to make some extra money because they might have the same expenses we have, but the third and fourth and fifth boats can be expensive. So, and that second private plane is not cheap. So I have a theory that people want to make money before the end of the year and the holidays. And what's the best chance to do it? A pump in October. And sometimes it's extended, you see, into November. Because this has been so slow at times, we might get lucky. I wouldn't risk it and get into November. But I have a theory that some whales and some companies want to make some money, and some miners want to make some money in October in the regular market and in crypto. So I do think we're going to see a green October. What I worry about is we're a small channel, so please share the show. A lot of people are going to get caught with their pants down because they're going to get super excited about what happens in October, and the bottom is going to fall out November, December, and January. And if you haven't taken profits, especially if the alts, they're gone by January. Goodbye.
Yeah, and I want to stress this to a lot of people out there. Make sure as Bitcoin dominance falls, ETH dominance rises, altcoin dominance rises, you're going to hear a lot about an altcoin season. And if we do get an altcoin season, I want you to be prepared to take profits. Now, taking profits doesn't have to mean wiping out your entire portfolio in one shot. Taking profits is going to look more like whack-a-mole this time around, where you're taking profits here and there, and then in another place on another day. But it also doesn't have to look like wiping out your entire holding in that coin or that token. It could also mean that you just take a little bit off the top. Maybe you take about half or just your original investment out so that you're playing with house money. Or maybe you take a lot out and leave yourself a little bit as a moon bag there. But taking profits is going to be extremely important, because we have precious little time left in this bull run, and neither of us believe in the broken cycle theory. So we think that you're just going to have these last 3 months here to take profits, and then it's going to be gone.
Yeah, so this gives me a little optimism. It seems like most of the markets now are predicting a rate cut in September, possibly several rate cuts before the end of the year, and that can't help but help.
Yes. Now, Micah has a great question. Can BTC hit north of 150 without a rate cut? I don't think so.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know that the macro environment is such that without rate cuts and without positive news, and I think it's going to need more than just rate cuts. I think some of these tariffs are going to have to turn out to not be as harsh as people are predicting them to be. As we find out more and more over the next couple of months. And so I think it's going to take rate cuts. It's going to take a lot of positive macro news in order to get Bitcoin north of 150. Like I said, we're going to need 3 positive months to get there.
Okay. Now, we can't leave our viewers without an Epstein update, Mr. FOMO.
Oh.
All right. I just want to get your reaction live. We haven't talked about this off the air. The scheduled congressional deposition of Miss Maxwell has been indefinitely postponed. Not only that, it turned out today that they have already redacted many of the names that they don't want released if and when these files are released. And it came out, not to get one side or the other, both Trump and Clinton have been redacted from the files. How convenient. So we're not going to be hearing from Miss Maxwell publicly anytime soon. Your reaction, Mr. FOMO?
Like I said before, I really don't think we're ever going to find out the whole truth about all of this stuff.
Well, you can. You have to do the research yourself. Yeah, they're not going to release it to you.
But my thinking on this is that the people who have been rumored to be on the list are on the list. The people who don't want us to see any kind of list or any kind of information are definitely on the list. I feel like if I were being accused of being some sort of pedophile, that I would do everything I can to make sure that people knew that that wasn't the case. But I guess some people take a different route. I don't know. My reaction to this is I could have figured this was going to happen.
Very predictable. Question about Voyager. What about the end of the year? We have heard nothing about another check coming. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but as of right now, August 1st, no information about a check coming. I wish they would close this thing out and just give whatever funds are left. I just think the 3AC thing is such a long, exasperated thing. You know what Mr. FOMO? Why not just get final clarity and just end this thing? Because we're not going to get 100% return. Realistically, we might get another 5 to 10% at best. They're still funding. Every day that goes by, though, they're eventually going to run out of money to litigate.
That's my concern is they've only got a limited amount to keep pursuing this 3AC stuff. And once that money runs out, I think we all know that lawyers aren't going to pro bono this for the rest of our
How much is left? We've squeezed that 3AC. How much more can you really squeeze? It's not like these guys are still billionaires and the assets have been liquidated. It's a long process. I would hope, okay, we can give you guys another 3 to 4%. Do it, get it done. You can invest that 3 or 4%, maybe get it in before October. That's it. Hey guys, I have a question. They asked, are we still dumping or finally getting bottomed? That's a great question. I wouldn't be shocked if we had a little bit more downward action over the next couple days. Most models have us recovering next week. That's a great question. Um, I think we're going to be okay. I really do. Even if we get to 110, 109, I wouldn't freak out. Now, as Mr. FOMO said, you get to 100 or below 100. That was you remember, that was when the war started. That was a dip and people were scared. To go from 123 to 100 would be concerning to me. I don't think, I think we're close to the bottom. So if we get to 111, 110, even 109, I wouldn't freak out. Maybe we have bottomed out at 113.5. But traditionally over the weekend, when something like this happens, you get kind of stagnated. What I would like to see is us hold to 113 and by Sunday night fill that gap back to 115. And if we can start next Monday at 115, we got an entire 4 weeks to get to 130. That's what I would love to see. My honest opinion, what I expect to happen is to hit 130 this month, maybe retrace a little bit in September, and then have a huge blow off. Again, it's looking more like 155 to 160 than 180 to me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get way above that. But the more we kind of temper off this dump, the easier it is going to be to get to that 150, 180 range, right? So if we have bottomed out at 113 and Monday morning we're already back at 116, getting to 130 is not that difficult. Not easy, but very manageable. Because if we have a dip, if we do have a bit of a dip in September, we want it to be much higher than we are now.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. I don't see much more bad news in the way this weekend. I feel like you had a lot of the bad macro news that watered down the markets, and all of the markets, really. I mean, aside from some top earners, you really saw all the markets take a real slide over this past week. And so I think we're done with that. I think we're going to see Bitcoin recover over the weekend, and then we'll see a strong move here in August.
I hope so. Don't give up. And here's the other thing, guys. As Mr. FOMO said, in the next 3 months, be ready to take profits. Your alt might run next week and then bottom out for the rest of the cycle. Don't it just because Bitcoin tops off in October doesn't mean your altcoin will. Remember that. So remember, some of the alts ran in August 4 years ago was their biggest pump. Some of them ran September. Some of them ran October. Then may I remind you about StormX, Mr. FOMO? How we're expecting that one last big pump and it never came. VGX, I hate to bring it up. So everything's going to run differently. You told me what, since our last show, 48,000 new tokens have been listed. I mean, that's
60,000 now. There's 18.96 million according to CoinMarketCap right now. 18.96 million cryptos on the market. That means 60,000 cryptos have been minted since we last talked. And that's I really feel like that's what's watering down the market, is the fact that there's so many cryptos being developed each day. I mean, just in a matter of days, you're talking about 60,000 that have been put onto the market.
We talked about
that
this.
thins out what's available out there, or what's available to pump out there.
We were hoping for regulation for this cycle where if you wanted to list a token, there were certain criteria in the US you had to have, and that hasn't happened. And that's quite frankly hurt the bull run. And that's where the administration really has dropped the ball, right? Instead of creating your own token, creating really good infrastructure and rules and regulation, I think would have helped. They did go after.
But I mean, you have to understand
Steve, but Steve's
Trump,
not getting any jail time. That's the problem.
Right. But you have to understand, Trump was never going to be about regulation. He's about deregulation, and so deregulating these markets, especially the fact that he's got his own token out there that he used to enrich himself and those closest to him. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there wasn't that there hasn't been that much regulation, but regulation would be a huge boon to the market because it would tell us, what could be listed, what shouldn't be listed, what could be invested in, what shouldn't be invested in. I think there would be a lot of things that would explode because of that.
Do you remember you remember the post he gave earlier this year about how certain American-made cryptos were going to be part of the reserve? What happened to that? And they were going to get prioritized, and they gave us a list. And for that one day, all of them kind of had this huge pump. I think that was a money grab now looking back, unfortunately. But there's just we got some news on Wednesday. I was just expecting things to go much faster than they are. It's now August. Unfortunately, instead of taking months, it's taking years to get this together. We should have known better. You're the realist. And that's why we're not going to 200, 300, 400, 500K Bitcoin. We will get there. It just unfortunately won't be in the cycle. But the good news is, believe you this, if the cycles are still going, guess what? In 2026, you're going to get to accumulate at much lower prices, especially if you could take some profits now. And then in the next cycle, we're going to have a lot of fun because I think we will be north of 300K in the next cycle. So that'll be exciting. That'll be good. I really think that minimum 200, right? Minimum 200, but I think 300.
Remember, for every 50,000 that Bitcoin moves in price action, that's $1 trillion in market.
The way the Fed is, listen, the Fed is spending 25 billion just on their facility. Okay, so I don't think that's a problem. Yeah. No, I didn't I didn't get to MicroStrategy. I didn't catch that, unfortunately. But MicroStrategy
10 billion. 10 billion. We read an article about this. They made 10 billion just off of Bitcoin. Yeah. 10 billion in profit just off of Bitcoin.
But that's unrealized profit because they haven't sold the BTC.
Right. So they're not selling it. But I'm just saying that's a monster right there. That should be telling other businesses, and it is telling other businesses, hey, this is a strategy you need to be paying attention to.
I think there will be a day where not only all the states have been the leaders, actually, right? I think there'll be a day where we will finally see game theory get played out. Unfortunately, doesn't look like 2025 is the year, but we will see what happens. If game theory ever does get played out, it'll completely destroy the cycles. That's it. Yeah, Texas is supposed to do it first. They have plans to. Hasn't happened just yet, but that's coming. But I don't think they've officially purchased the Bitcoin. And the U.S., they have Bitcoin, but they haven't released a strategy as to when they're officially going to buy. Maybe they want to accumulate on low prices. I don't know. But there are a lot of promises.
If I were going to accumulate, this is not the time that I would accumulate.
2026 is the time.
Right. If I were paying attention, my assumption is that these states and a lot of these companies and the U.S. government, even as inept as they all act sometimes, my assumption is they have some pretty smart people who are informing them that, hey, we are going to have another cycle here. We are going to see a bear market. We are going to see some of these prices go down.
Are you saying the country of Germany was wrong to sell all their Bitcoin at 50K last year? When they left billions? And remember we said, you're leaving billions and billions off the table here. That was a horrific decision. And if they were watching this show, we would have just asked for a little bit back in return from the country of Germany. Germany's made some crazy decisions over the past 12 months. Get it together. If you're in Germany, contact your government, give them the link to the show, have them subscribe. We'll save you guys a lot of money. Anyways, for MrFOMO's coming out with a short soon about taking profits. Watch out for that. If anything important happens, keep it here. We'll jump on.